Hello everybody, it is Sagana Girl, and I'm here to talk about my experience in working with the Ludy Lescot tarot deck. It is still just the 25th of October, and I will be working with this deck until the 31st, until Samhain. But next week is really busy for me, pardon me, with work and hockey practices and tournaments. I thought I would do this review a little bit earlier, as I feel like I've got I've got quite a bit of information to share. So I might have to do this video in two parts. So here we go. All right, so let's start with technical, practical things about the deck. So the Ludy Lescot Tarot, for those of you that haven't watched the previous review, there it is. That's the back. Really like it. It's put up by Lescot. I'm sorry, I don't know where the box went. I keep it in a Crown Royal classic bag. I just thought it kind of fits with the whole New Orleans thing. Anyways, it's your typical Lescot deck size. Oops, sorry. Sorry, I'm feeling like I need to rush. I don't know why, but anyways. And it's pretty, I don't know if you would call it flimsy. Compared to some of like the Blue Angel Oracle cards, it's a little bit thinner. I don't want to spend too much time talking about those points though, because you can watch my previous video. But I'm a shuffler, so I like them a little bit softer because I really like the sound that the cards make, and so I shuffle them a lot. So what I wanted to talk to you about was, I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to try, I'm not sure how to, maybe this way. Can you see the wear on the edges of the cards where the ink has come off? Okay, that's just from me working with it over the last, 25 days. And I read with my cards every day. Sometimes I do 2 readings a day depending on what the purpose is. Okay, so that's just from me shuffling. So if you're someone who's really particular about that, if you want your cards to stand up a little longer, that might be an issue for you. Personally, I quite like the ragged, well, not the ragged, but the worn look on the cards. I feel like they're finally getting to a place where they're handling quite nicely. They're getting soft in my hands. So I don't mind that, but that might be something that you will mind. I don't know if you can see. There's a little bit of wear. Oh, I can't really see in this, but there's a little bit of wear on the front of the cards. It's not super bad, just around the edges. You can see where I've been shuffling, but that's just, maybe it's how I shuffle the cards, but that's just, regular wear and tear, and so I don't really have an issue with that. If you do have an issue, then that might be a problem for you. Just have that. So like I said, it's not even been a month, so anyway, so that's sort of the technical thing I noticed with the deck. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about some of the cards and show you some of my favorite things, and then share with you some insights. So I guess we'll go to some of the details of the cards. There's some things that I really enjoyed about these cards. So Ludy Lescot uses reflection a lot in these cards with regards to mirrors. So here's a couple examples. I like that part of the deck. I think that's kind of an interesting component to have the mirror. In this one, in the Six of Wands, she uses reflection, but it's not with regards to the mirrors, it's with regards to the pictures. So I think I might have pointed this out in the previous review, but can you see this picture down here? In the background, it's the woman coming down the stairs. So I found that my awareness was drawn to that. So that to me was an interesting point to take note of. I really was drawn in by the reflection. So that was kind of cool. I like that aspect of the deck. It was like a double-sided view, the idea of going deeper, looking deeper beyond the surface, perhaps thinking about how you're reflecting things, or how things are being reflected on you. So I quite like that. The other part that goes along with that in a couple of the cards, in the Queen of Cups, for example, and I don't know if I'm going to get you to see it, but if you look right there, that's a dude's face. So this is the back of the Queen's head. The back of her throne is the reflection, is the mirror. And then there's this guy here. So it gives you the impression that she is looking at this guy who's standing, you know, off camera somewhere over here. So I really like that. I was really caught up in that. The idea of, you know, the Queen of Cups. Okay, well, what is it in the background that's going on for you? Or what is it that's out of perhaps your line of vision, or in your line of vision, but other people aren't able to see? Okay, so I thought that was really interesting. So I quite like that. So there's an example of that. Again, with the Seven of Pentacles, it's the reflection in the window pane, not necessarily the mirror. And so she's looking off to her right. So again, interesting concept. What's going on over there? I don't know. I guess you could do a little bit of path work or visualization with that. Okay. Another one. This one's a little bit more obvious. In the Seven of Cups, the woman leaning up against the mirror with the reflection of her actually being the skeleton right down to the bow that's around her head. So the idea of the Seven of Cups with regards to illusion and too much time in the dream world, or too much time thinking about things, or perhaps too many choices, whatever your personal interpretation of that. I quite like that. I also like the idea of this man in the background. So that was really interesting to me. I quite enjoyed that. The other thing I liked that kind of goes along with the reflection, as I mentioned, was the face in the Queen of Cups. But I like the little hidden things. So for example, in the Page of Cups, okay, I really like the hand and the eye in the background, but I really like the little rabbit hiding inside of his hat, right? So it's just interesting. It gives you another perspective. Is it trickery? Is it illusion? Is it someone who's very masterful and skillful with their hands to create things that perhaps aren't really there? Yeah, I kind of dug that. Okay. Where's another one? Sorry, I try to have everything organized, and then of course it all kind of went to pot. Oh, and other little detail things like, oops. The Nine of Pentacles. I like the mismatched color shoes, the black and the gold. Okay, so, I mean, again, obviously it matches her beautiful outfit, but it could be having a little bit of both worlds. Okay, so that's interesting. Lots of mismatched shoes. Here's another one in the Seven of Cups. A gold shoe and a silver shoe. The gold one is still on the foot. The silver is off. So again, however you choose to, I can't speak English today, interpret that. If gold is the sun and male or yang energy, and silver is the moon and female and yin energy, again, whatever you choose to do with that. That was kind of cool. The Two of Swords. I like the red glove and the white glove on the ground. The idea of balance, finding truce. Okay. Here's another one. This one's a little bit more obvious, but I still kind of, I dig it. The hand beckoning. There's a little bit of blood on there. So it may not be the best choice to enter, or maybe it is. I mean, I guess it depends on your perspective. Just throwing my cards around. Oh, here's another one. I like this one. The Seven of Swords. I like the homage to the RWS in the background. You have the little stained glass window of the traditional man walking, running, sneaking away with swords. So that was kind of cool. So that was some really interesting stuff that I noticed as I read with the cards more and played with them more. I started noticing these little hidden bits of interesting reading things that I really, really enjoyed that. So that was really cool. Then there was, I want to talk a little bit about the book. So it is a traditional Lescot book. So, you know, really it's 4 languages. If you read 4 different languages, that's fabulous, but you'll just get the same information 4 times. That's how much you get per language, okay? I haven't actually done the reading in here, The Path of the 5 Houses. I'm hoping to do that either today or tomorrow. So, but I wanted to get this video out. So, Little White Books, you know, not a lot of information. I mentioned it before where the writing in the Ludy Lescot Little White Book was quite a bit more poetic. Not necessarily chock full of information, so I don't know if as a beginner reader you might want to have another book that will help with that. But what I did like was the phrases chosen for specific cards were really, like, they were really on point and they really resonated with me. So I'll show you an example of the Tower card. So perhaps one of the traditional descriptions that people might use was the idea of the drastic change of the Tower, a change that's really sudden, perhaps not completely organic, maybe an organic type of change, but something that is quite dramatic, okay, which is our traditional, perhaps, description, or the most common description. What I really like is this guy in the red cape is kind of losing his stuff, right? Like he's falling, his crown's off the head. Again, very similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith. But I like this woman here, and this is the figure that I really was drawn to, and how she's just thrown her arms back and she's just taking a leap of faith. She's just throwing herself off the tower because really there doesn't seem to be much choice. But when I read in the Little White Book about this card, just give me a minute, I'll find it, the Tower card, it says, "Close your eyes and make a leap of faith. Reopen your eyes and you will have been reborn." So it's very connected to the card. I like that description. It's not as dark and as grim as perhaps some of the other descriptions for this card that I've seen in other decks. So I quite like that. So that's just one example. I'm not going to go through all of them. But so the book did work with some of the cards, and I didn't use the Little White Book very much while I was reading. I just sort of went on my own intuition. But the cards are creepy and quirky enough that I was interested to see how the artist was trying to portray the imagery with her words. So I wanted to see how the pictures were being verbally described, and I quite liked what I saw for most of the cards. Not for all of them. I'm not going to get into all of that, but it was quite interesting. So I'm just going to end this at this point, and I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about the first reading I did with this deck, and hopefully that will give you a little bit more information for those of you that are trying to make a decision about whether you want to commit your time to the Ludy Lescot Tarot. All right, thank you so much. Blessed be.